that was a cue. Good evening, everybody. You guys know I'm busy in the COT office. Are you kidding? I came back here and it was a tornado. It really was. I've been working all day. You guys have seen me. I started up Skype again. I'm back in the home office with a COT for a little bit, and which is, by the way, makeshift office, really. But I have everything up concerning COT, and so I've been working. You guys will notice on the homepage there's a global conditions chart on there, on the homepage. Things have been changing, and it has to be up there. It will be updated. And in fact, it changes about every 15 seconds. Okay, so that means fresh data all the time, based on a slew of happenings, a lot of crunching. That chart will be expanded in both some of the new news pages and our science section. Okay, that will be expanded so that you guys can see that. We'll be going over each section so it can be explained to you guys piece by piece. That will in turn be archived, taped, and that will be available in case anybody else comes along. They want to hear an explanation of what's in there, right? Now, very important. This is not based on paranoia. This is based on real data, not false data, not false stories, right? This is based on real stuff. So the levels up there, they will change from time to time, but never based off of people's fears and paranoias and theories or things of that nature, but tangible things. That also means one of the levels could be at a 1, which is green, and it could change within 15 seconds to a 6, which is absolute red, right? And so that's how that works, all right? So it is live data, and we will keep it updated. It will let you know the last time it was updated. It'll have the current date on there. Lest we turn it off, we are filtering data in. We're testing that out to see it's going to change all by its lonesome. There is, we have a magma level, right? And if it ever reaches if it ever turns orange, well, we have a problem. 3 is a problem that you'll likely be able to see. Okay. 2 is very close to a problem you're about to see. That's based on eruptions, not just one, but many. It's based on magma movement and crustal displacement events caused by that magma, the forcing of the crust to go in different directions. We have an AADL reading on there. I'll explain that later. That's based on atmospheric retention of water, which can cause some very bad storms and winds. And then, of course, we have a space section in there, if you can see that. And that, whatever affects the Earth, right, that level is going to change. If it reaches a 5, a 4, or a 5, there'll be visual evidence of what you're seeing, right? Or a 5 is visual evidence, which means it's going to take place. And then a red is simply a warning. We interrupt everything. And then you may hear me or several other folks, some people you don't know yet, that will begin to speak to specific locations in which that danger is pending. Then we have a conflict section on that same page. And this is based on global tensions, policies, decisions, brand new things that are coming out. That data is crunched, and then we have an output. Okay? Right now we sit at a 3. This morning it was a 2. It was bumped up to 3 because something took place this morning, and so it bumped up to a 3. No one person is in control of these levels. It's based upon data, okay, that affects the entire globe, not just one specific area. So if a country blows up, of course, it could be at a 4 or something like that. We don't know, but it's not, no one person changes that level. This is based on data. So then that data is analyzed and changed based upon code, and then those numbers are reported in sequence with that. All right? Tonight I may discuss why, I know one time that Pastor Paul asked me something about Antarctica. I could not give an answer, but since they've kind of thrown the explanation away, they're becoming bold. They're about to become very bold, folks, and tell you some things you don't want to know. But now I can't go too deep into it because it would undo the glue that's holding these things together. But I can tell you this. Every leader on the face of this earth has been Antarctica. Why? Maybe we'll discuss some of that. But it also takes a premise. Right? You have to have some type of foundation of what they've been doing up there. What did they find that they would bring everybody up there? Surely it's not to taste Antarctica salad or something like that. It's not what it's for. All right? And if you think it has to do with the telescope, well, that's your opinion. But to be honest with you, this has something to do with the ground. All right? It has something to do with the ground. It has something to do with the ground, something, these regions, North and South Pole, they have lots of ice, correct? And we all know there was a freeze event a long time ago. Animals were flash frozen with food in their mouths, feeding off trees. Bees were still in flight, stuck to flowers and things of that nature. They found these things, right? We're talking about species that were just frozen all at one time. Right? Bees in flight, frozen, something happened very fast. Animals frozen, chewing their food, reaching up for this, that, and the other, frozen in place. Well, that's not all that was frozen in place. And so evidence was found up there, of which they have brought many people down to see. But there's still a problem because you're dealing, all types of scientific disciplines also reside in those places, because as the ice continues to melt, well, you have different resilient viruses that are just floating away. Big boys, big viruses you can see with the human eye with one small aperture, and you can actually see them. And they're quite different, of which we don't know if there's an immunity, right? You just don't know that. And so if there's not an immunity, it's imperative to find some species around there that had an immunity to the virus. And somehow you have to reanimate or decipher, let's just say we have to decipher that animal's immune system. So you have to get some type of active blood, and so that takes experiments, right, to somewhat regenerate this, all right? In order to regenerate that, you're talking about sequencing that is incredible. So you're speaking of some type. Now they do have DNA sequencing devices that are about the size of a chapstick tube. Now, believe it or not, I see that. Bond, God bless you, brother. But they have those sequencing devices that are the size of a chapstick tube. And so we've come a long way, right? And thank you, Bondo. Hey, I didn't put that up there. That's in code. But thank you anyway. Bondo, I couldn't think of a last name. I'm going to think of a last name before this broadcast is over anyway. So we have that going on up there, right? Also, there are other things that have been taking place, and global conflict and conditions and stress and everything, and people are paranoid, trying to blame each other, and this is something that we have to watch ourselves from each other. That same spirit of paranoia is all over the place, right? We have to be careful that we don't fall prey to it. Okay. By the way, if you guys see a guy named, two people actually, now was one, but there's some people I'm looking for in the chat room. I don't want to say their name out loud. Some of you guys I typed earlier. If you see that person, you guys know what to do, right? You know what to do? Hopefully. You do? All right. So anyway, folks, we have been, I've been busy, and several other folks have been busy, and we've been coordinating here and there, trying to get everything up and running. And no doubt you guys know this website going up and down and up and down. And you folks that are going to help out with the mobile apps and everything else, we're going to be hitting this fast and furious in a few hours, because things are updating, changing. By the way, in the broadcast, if the site goes down, it's not really down. You'll see something that says offline, okay? And that's only when everything is updating. We have to take it offline so nothing is working. Also, you can't access your user accounts. You can log in, but you can't go anywhere with your user accounts. There's not a problem there. Don't worry about your passwords. Everything is being shifted and moved to an entirely different database. And so we have to get away from IBM. We're running away from IBM. That's what we're doing. IBM is up to some things, and I know you guys know about Watson. Some of you guys who are in the corporate world, you know about Watson. And they have actually, they're just throwing things out into your faces, right? All this began, really, with the U.S. a long time ago. They had, actually, it was about, when was this? This is about 2017, right? 16, 15, 14. So that's about 4 years ago. 4 years ago. 300 petaflops was achieved. We're talking about data, because the architecture of computers has changed. May not know this or not, but everything has become visual, right? And they have, it's more of a GPU-based pushing of information now. so they have exchange computers and everything else. These systems did have names, so it makes a supercomputer look like a, I don't know, like an ancient calculator or something, right? Some of these newer computers that are coming out, which are based on, well, they have that Tesla technology, they call it, which is really stolen technology. And a lot of them work off from light, right? So IBM has power servers, they call them, which are processing, crunching all this data. And you wouldn't believe the petaflops in these things, right? Not petaphiles, petaflops, which means a large amount of data that is being, calculations being processed. You're talking about, some of you guys who know about the architecture and math coprocessors when they came out, you kind of fell out of your chair, right? You were like, wow, that's awesome. We can do mathematics into, the high point range. But now they have petaflop capable chips that are doing just some amazing things, right? What took us a year to do, to sequence DNA in a year, now takes about 2 seconds. Well, with some of these new computers, you can do everybody's DNA in about 1 minute. So imagine that. And that was with technology that was here 4 years ago, right? You can do everybody's DNA, sequence everybody's DNA in everybody's DNA. That small set of time. So these are very high or very fast computers. And what I'm saying to you is that they're becoming very bold in what they're doing. They're becoming very bold, very bold. All right, very bold. Okay, he said he didn't mind. If you guys see Carl in the chat room, let him know we're still working on it. Okay, we're doing our best. We're still working on it. Anyway, you guys just watch for that name, Carl. Okay, but we're moving headfirst into some territory that we've just not experienced. I can't say we've not been in this because we have. We're experiencing. By the way, the North and South Poles have also revealed that something happened in this world a long time ago. Let me give you an explanation. A lot of the DoD folks back in the 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s, they really had come to a conclusion that what happened to the world was some type of atomic warfare. Now, this was a conclusion not by nut jobs, but by folks who are in governmental agencies, and of course, most of them are dead right now. But the information still goes forward. The theory still holds. They believe that this Earth was destroyed at a time or underwent large-scale nuclear war. But that just recently changed. And so now what they're doing is they're starting to go over the power plants. What they do believe is, in general, a lot of people believe that some of the power plants that were here a long time ago, well, this must just mess somebody's theology up, huh? Some of the power plants that were here a long time ago, they stop running. When you stop running and you're utilizing materials from the Earth, right, like nuclear power rods, right, you start losing power. You can't cool those rods, and so you have meltdowns all over the place, right? Well, when you know if there are radiation signatures all over the face of the Earth, underneath the ground, there are certain areas you still can't go into, and some places are still active. But we marvel at things like that because we've been lied to from the beginning. We should have stuck with the truth, which is the Word of God, and had revelation from God, and stop thinking up all these theories, and then go write a book or make a movie out of it, make a lot of money, and have other people believing your story, not necessarily the truth. So we should have had revelation from the Father, right? You agree? I agree. I agree totally, right? It's not good to know certain things, but you just carry around information nobody's going to believe anyway if you told them. But now we're coming to a time where everything is about to happen again. King Solomon said there's nothing new under the sun. So then how can anything upon the earth be new? And if he was the wisest person that ever was or ever will be, I think he knew what he was talking about. Yes, he went crazy running in the streets naked, speaking gibberish at the end. But that's because with all that wisdom, he still couldn't overcome. He couldn't overcome something. You guys know what that is? That's in another lesson. We'll talk about that. But yes, he did. The wisest person that ever was still fell prey to something we all do on occasion. Something is very difficult to get over. Okay. But these guys are, I mean, they're just really, they're really going forward. Anybody familiar with the Aurora supercomputer? Anybody? That computer system was able to. I'm trying to put this in layman terms. I don't want to use the word aggregate, but let's just say it could really push data. It was the first 300 byte per second platform, right? And what it did was it took that information, the core information of a computer, and began to link other peripherals, right, one to another. So it helped each component of a computer talk to one another at light speed, just about. And so now that platform has been switched over to light itself, right? And so, of course, they ran out of power because voltage has limitations. Current has limitations, right? Light, well, that's what we need. But in order to have things operate at the speed of light, calculations at the speed of light, and of course electrons flow this fast, but it's too expensive to get all those electrons to travel. You wouldn't want a wire the size of your desk, would you? That'd be like negative 900 gauge wire, right? You wouldn't want that. That's too big. So what you want is to deal with light, carrying just about a limitless amount of information at light speed all the time. And CERN has some very good breakthroughs in that, right? Of course, we're not responsible to handle the findings that we have, and which is why they sit on a lot of discoveries, because if it were ever to get out, society would change. You would be mad. You would no longer go along with what everybody is saying, right? Because if they hid one thing from you, but it could have helped you in your life, you would doubt everything they did. Now, everything they do is not bad. Please don't have that mindset. That's not the truth. If everything they did was to kill you and harm you and everything else, they wouldn't be here, because the Father wouldn't suffer them to be here, right? How simple is that? Everything is purposed, right? You're purposed to overcome. You are. You're purposed to overcome. So a lot of people have been working at breakneck speed to overcome something that has been here for a long time. I want you to think about something. There are some things that mankind is really not able to overcome, right? Now, I'm not speaking of technology. I'm speaking of those things who inspired technology in the first place. Like in biblical terms, there's some names in there maybe you want to know about, because there's a species in the Bible that was spoken of that are not fallen angels. They're not angels either. They have a specific name in the Hebrew. Have no soul. They have no right or wrong in them. They carry out directives. And they were all over the place. Nobody could overcome them. You really don't know what you're protected from, do you? From the blood of the Lamb. People like to fancy themselves on making names for all these demonic entities and everything else. The problem with that is demons lie. That's a problem. They lie. Men lie too. And you don't know what to believe. Right? But the truth is, there are really no mysteries about the ancient world except to say, we have become that ancient world yet again. That's all. So if you think in that context and you look back in these stones, which are actually footers for other things, it's really no big mystery, right? Because, by the way, who would quarry a huge granite stone, 35 kilometers, cut it perfectly, right? Place it, erect the thing up, 35 kilometers away, 14,000 feet, where trees are not growing, right? Who would do that? How could you do that? Well, it can be done, but it takes lots of machinery, some type of technology to do it. And if you do that 30,000 times, see, they don't tell you this. They found some stones that were cut, 30,000 stones cut precisely, exactly the same, each one over 28 tons. How about that? Somebody says, Baalbek, no. Listen to what they did in Baalbek. They took that place and they put that together based upon what they thought it should look like. Don't trust that stuff. They put stuff together like they think it should look like. That's not real. I'm telling you the truth. It's not real. They put that place together like they think it should be. Archaeologists are devious folks. That's what they did. But they can't deny the stones, right? Here's what they've been doing with a lot of places, so they can fool you. Let me explain to you. They will go to a place and start putting stuff together based upon their intellect. Why? Because they have triple doctorates and things of that nature. They're educated. Everybody's going to listen to what they say because they suffer through all the classes and everything else. So they're going to listen to everything, right? You're going to listen to everything they say, so are the other people. So when they put something together, they say, well, it must be like that. That's what they say. It must be like that. But come to find out, modern age and modern times, and even back then they knew. They put those things together like that themselves. And then they tried to sell you a story that even in your spirit, you say, well, something's wrong with that. Even in your spirit, something is wrong with that. So they just keep lying and lying and lying because they have to get grants. Now, if you get a grant for being an archaeologist, where do you get the grant money? Where's that coming from? Huh? It has to be in the country's best interest, right? It does. And you know you're going to have some type of Congress with oversight looking into that. So because if it does not fit the bill of the agenda you're pushing, you're not going to get the money, right? So all that discovery is based upon money. It is. That's why good people who want people to know the truth, they often get sidelined and start making money off their discoveries, begin to change the story, and then they begin to believe somebody else's story because of the money. See, if you pay enough money, people will believe anything. Right? You don't believe that, do you? You don't believe good people would believe everything for a certain amount of money, for a certain amount of stuff? You don't? Well, explain Santa Claus. That's all you have to do. You explain that to me, Santa Claus. There's so many people ready, kids are willing to believe in Santa Claus so they can get something, right? Is that correct or not? Adults are no different. We just give complicated names in a different type Santa Claus called grants. That's the same Santa Claus. People will believe what you want them to believe to get the money. Because when you don't have money, you have no earthly security. You feel powerless. You feel thrown away, cast away, and everything else, which reveals where you really are. Anyway, having said all those things, change. It's been underway. It's happening. So the course of our conversation tonight may be a little different than what it normally is. Because they're moving at light speed with all these changes, and they don't care anymore. They don't care. So it's going to be our responsibility to keep each other updated based upon truth, not theory, not what we think is happening, right? But based upon, if you're in an area and you can use your eyeballs to observe, don't report what you think you see, report what you see. Leave the interpretation up to the people, all the people who see the same thing, and come to a truthful conclusion. Don't interpret by yourself. That's how people get led astray. I'll give an example like the wave data, right? The wave data. Now, we're working solely with data and with some visual observations. The truth is the wave has been affecting the Earth since December. It's also been altering things in the Earth on a molecular level. Things are starting to break down. Machinery is going to start acting funny. Why? Because of the introduction of a different type of radiation. You think radiation is associated somehow with chemotherapy or something like that. No, radiation is energy. That's all it is. So when you introduce a certain type of energy into something else, I'll give you an example, right? You put a cup in a microwave, nothing happens. Go throw a ball of foil in there. Let's see what happens with the introduction of a new type energy to a substance that was never made to receive it. But if you straighten that aluminum foil out perfectly, where it can reflect microwaves on all edges, nothing happens. Do you know that? Most people don't know that. It is the imperfections in the reflection of metals and surfaces that cause the arcs. It causes collisions. But if you straighten it out perfectly, well, you don't get that. It's reflected. Now, you might tear up another part of your microwave because that magnetron is surely going to kick out some waves, right? Now, with the microwave, you don't see the microwaves coming out. All you hear is a big hum, part of the magnetron generating microwaves, right? That's all you hear. So if they came into the Earth, what would be the first thing you notice? You wouldn't notice anything, but what you would notice is biological life forms heating up in places they shouldn't. What you would notice is a change in biological life forms, correct? You would also notice other changes. You'd notice changes in your skin, changes in your internal organs. You men would have hot flashes you never dreamed of having. You stop laughing at your wives. You'd say, oh my goodness, what is this, a hot flash? What am I having a hot flash for? You'd go out in the sun, your skin would tingle. Things of that nature. What does that mean? That means something is different about our atmosphere. The shielding, not the magnetosphere, but the shielding itself in the atmosphere is changing, altering. Why? Because the introduction of different energies. And one day, the same thing that happened a long time ago will happen again. And what is that? The absence of protection on the surfaces of your skin. So wherever the sunlight hit, it would fry. And even if you couldn't see sunlight, radiation is still coming. So it would have an effect hard to breathe out in the open. And people would cover their windows and doors. And if an event lasted like that for 3 days, which is about 4 days, the estimate, in the far, far, distant past, it kind of reminds you of 3 days of darkness, doesn't it? Not as though the world was darkened for 3 days, but people had to go into the dark for 3 days to survive. Because if you went out in the light, you were going to get burned up. Correct? Light is an indication of where certain types of energy come. If you can block the light, you block the energy. In a lot of cases. Right? A lot of cases. We'll face an event like that, then what? So anyway, we have those status conditions on the home page of the site. Okay? Status conditions. And we don't want to, this is not to scare anybody or anything else. This is a realistic look at what's going on of conditions based upon many different variables, and we'll go into detail. I don't mind. Listen, it is good to share all the variables with you, and a variable is nothing more than a named something to hold data. And so we have different variables that hold data from all over the globe, fed into one single system, and it gives an output. Right? Yes, we work with, you'd be surprised what we work with. Most people just know COT. Don't know the rest of it. Just know COT, the site. But thank God that's all you know. Because don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Because if your left hand knows what your right hand is doing, your left hand may get an attitude and attempt to pull it down when they can't pull down what they don't know about. In fact, there are many things happening with us that they can never touch, but people benefit every single day because no one associates it with us. We are the target to save the other components. Isn't that funny? Right? If you popped your head out of a foxhole, or let's just say you popped a bayonet out of a foxhole, somebody may shoot the bayonet, but it spares you. When they shoot the bayonet, all you have to do is say, ouch. Oh, that's it. You do no more movement. They think you're dead. Right? So COT is that object that people see. They target, they attack, they do whatever. But they can't see the rest in operation. Because in the word it says, don't let your left hand know what the right hand is doing. Right? What people don't know, they won't attack. And what causes them to attack? Man's heart is evil continually. That's all. Right? That's all. Anyhow. So we're in this serious situation even tonight. I know you guys, some of you guys were here this morning when I was talking. I was a bit, not very happy. I'm still not. Don't, you have to forgive me too. Listen, somebody says, Rick says decoy, right? That's true. Listen, doesn't the word say, be as wise as serpents, as harmless as a dove? If you analyze that scripture, now you realize why you were put in the position you were in. Now you know why you had to see how they operate. How can you survive something you know nothing about? Now, you may say, well, I'm not going into any dark. Really? Let me ask you a question. If you didn't know what a thorn bush was, and you took a jog one day and somebody says, take a shortcut. I know what a thorn bush looks like, but you had never experienced one. So you take off running into the thorns, I guarantee you're going to have a bad run. You should have known about the thorns, but you didn't. See, what you don't know about can get you every single time. And when you know it, someone is going to advise you to go run in the danger. Go run over there. But if you already know about it, you're so, no thank you. That's all. You see how that works? That's exactly how it works in real life too. All right? It's precisely how it works in real life. Simple explanation, but very true. So now, some of you have been put in positions so you can observe the behavior of others so that you know about it. So don't sit there and fight everybody on that. A serpent does not fight everything. It must survive. A serpent watches all things. You know that? A snake can be in your yard for months, and you wouldn't even know it. Most people don't see the same snake all the time. They sit there, they watch, they know their environment, and when they're hungry, they know exactly where to strike. That's what what a snake does. And the Bible says you need to know those things, but be as harmless as doves. In other words, don't operate like a serpent, but understand how a serpent operates. That's just like the devil. He should be no mystery to you. He shouldn't be able to outsmart you. Everything of your flesh is him. No kidding. Everything of your flesh is him. It is truly him. How else could he seduce people and beguile them? Because he knows what makes your flesh move. He knows how to trigger a response from you in every single case. Have you ever prayed and said, Lord, I don't want to do so-and-so. I don't. Somebody comes up to you, and when you know it, they just provoke you into doing so-and-so. How many of you have ever cursed before and you had a hard time breaking that habit of cursing? You can be truthful. We're adults here. Somebody out there did it. You'd say one of those little choice words here and there, and you said, oh, Lord, I'm not going to curse today. And when you know it, you were faced with a dodo who came up and provoked you, and you ended up cursing, but then you felt like you failed. Right? Something would make you mad every single time. See, you can promise everything you want to promise. That doesn't mean you're going to overcome it. If you can be provoked into doing something, listen, most people get angry. Well, I did it again. But you're thinking of it wrongly. That's why people are not free. Let me give you another way to think of that. When you're forced into a situation like that, and Satan will always, demons do the same thing. They attempt to elicit a response. Instead of responding, when you feel it coming up, you say, that's where it is. I thank you, Lord. You revealed it. You revealed it. I see what triggers it now. Instead of saying, I messed up again, you didn't analyze what triggered it. So you walk away and it works against you again. But when you find out what triggers it, with the help of the Lord, you can put a stop to it. You see? You see how that works? What if you sat on your bed and every time you moved to the right, you felt a prick? Move to the left, nothing. Move to the right, a prick. But you just shrugged it off and walked off. You get back in you're sitting on your bed again, you move to the right, a prick. And you go to the left, right? But you never found out what it was. So every time you sit down, it's a prick in that day. So the smart person says they feel that prick, but they don't feel it on the left, so they go investigate. Right? They're not hollering, say, oh, what is that? They investigate. And then they find out it's a bee in their pants. They just eliminated the problem. See how that works? That's a true story. Somebody did that one time. Every time they leaned to the right, they were stung. Lean to the left, nothing. It's a pin or something in here. Nothing was on the bed, so they sat down and it happened again. They got up again. Oh, something has to be here. No. You need to check your pants. You didn't find it in the bed. The next obvious place to look is everywhere, in your pants. Don't sit there and say it couldn't be in your pants. Sure enough, in his sweatpants was a little tiny bee tearing him up. That was so funny. That was hilarious. I mean, it was tearing him up. I laughed so hard because for sure it was never in his pants. It had to be on the bed. This is a long time ago in the barracks one time. Long time ago. Every time he leaned one direction, poof, we got in trouble the same night for, well, you're supposed to do things by standards, and we pre-polished some shoes, and that didn't settle very well. So, we were, we didn't beat the dean that day. No. We got in trouble on that one anyway. So what I'm saying is this. You already have the intellect, but your investigation of self is flawed because you become the greatest expert in your own mind saying what it's not. Have you ever met somebody like that? They're always saying, well, it's not that. It's not this. Some of you guys know how to fix things, right? You're trying to fix something for somebody else. Now, it's their broken item. You're trying to help them. You know how to fix it. They don't. They call you to fix it, but they start telling you how to fix it, right? Correct? Ever meet someone like that? You ever do that? I don't want to pick on you women, some of you women, not all, but a lot of women are that way with vehicles, where they used to be. I don't know what they are now, because But if the car overheated, they may say, hey, this happened to my dad one time. Car overheated like this. And you have to roll the windows down, and the engine will stop smoking. And you're trying to tell them, well, it didn't work that way, but they're telling you a story. But they know for a fact their dad rolled the windows down, the car didn't smoke. You see? That's how it works. But we can't be like that. We have to be as wise as serpents, as harmless as a dove. Right? If you're not as wise as a serpent, you're likely to get bit by one, because they're going to set you up for failure to get bit. They won't kill you, but they'll bite you all throughout your life. Right? When you go through these things in your life and you're the one left bitter, you've been bitten. No kidding. They have no power to kill you. Right? Of scorpions and serpents we have power to tread upon, and their venom will not hurt us, but they will bite. They won't kill us, but they're going to bite. All right? Jesus said that. He said he gave us power to tread upon scorpions and serpents. And nothing will by any means hurt us. Right? And that word hurt did not mean that was a mortal word, so to speak. But the truth is, we've been bit. We have. So our skills of self-examination, they are there. We're just in denial. Because we always say, well, surely it can't be this. A snake never does that. Have you ever noticed in the animal kingdom a bird? Have you guys ever noticed a bird? Birds are funny. They look everywhere all the time. You know why? Because if you ever see a dead bird, he didn't look everywhere all the time. And in the animal kingdom, when you don't look everywhere all of the time, you die. A bird will land and look all over the place like every few seconds. A squirrel will move in this choppy positions, freezing itself through its movements, looking all over the place. But birds are real funny. They'll peck one thing out of the ground, look in all directions. Move 2 steps, look around again. Peck, hurry up and look up. All around. Make sure, and above. I mean, their heads never stop moving. Because if their head stops moving, they know something is watching them. Just like something is watching you. And when you're not watching, you've fallen asleep. So let's call demons bed bugs. The ones you can't catch. But the problem is, most of the demons reside in your own flesh. The nature of a demon is not external from you, but it's part of your makeup. That's the part you don't know. Like your emotions. What triggers your anger? Is it not a voice talking to you? Well, how can it talk to you? Because it's right there with you. That makes sense? All these voices talking to people, they never figured out they're right there with them. Looking for cracks and holes and crevices and all this other stuff. They're right there with you. But when you get one of those high moments of the Spirit and you're praising the Lord, well, then you have a different environment if it's from the heart. But when you're by yourself, you're thinking of everything. Why? Because everything is speaking to you. What about this? What about that? You thought it was your brain. Those are subtle suggestions. Same thing happening in the world today. We live in the days before the chaos truly breaks out, before anarchy is known. We live in a day where mankind is no longer ashamed of what they are inside, but are slowly justifying evil. Evil is being justified. That's one of the main reasons the beast rises. There's nothing to stop him. Many shall fall away first. That means not too many people are praying. That day shall not come unless there come a falling away first. Many people are not praying. They've fallen away. They were in strategic positions, seeing things. Falling away, no longer praying, no longer petitioning, no longer edifying, lifting up in the word of truth. So a famine comes. The beast rises, and it becomes his environment. But all those who do stand for the Lord and trust in their God, right? We still have him. We still have him because we abide in him. And when you abide in him, you actually dwell within Christ. There is no beast that can overcome Christ. Christ overcame all things. I choose to abide in him in the truth, and it's a beautiful place. Some don't. Some trust themselves. Some want to be right in the end. Forget about being right in the end. I would rather be wrong in the end and be saved today than to be right in the end and be doomed today, only to find out what I thought I was right about was wrong altogether. You see, folks, I'm going to do this, guys. I'm going to take a small break. What time is it? Oh, my goodness, I'm just getting started. Are you kidding? I'm going to take a break. Maybe the Lord can lead me into analyzing something together collectively, so we can have some type of clear picture on what's happening. All right? So we can do that. I'll be right back. I'm going to take a break. You guys stay put. If you can, get something to charge yourselves back up again. Keep up with me. Keep up if you can. I'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, you guys doing okay? I want you guys to do me a favor. While we're online, check your personal emails right now. Take a pause. Check your emails. You do that? I want you guys to check for security updates. Email. Look for that subject, security update. Okay? Do that right away. I'm going to play a song while you guys check. If you find an email with a security update, I'll be back in 5 minutes. You guys save the email, go through, and I'm going to talk about it. Just check your email, security update. Especially for those of you who shop online, check them right away. Okay, right away. I'll be right back. All right, you guys still there? No, it's not a trap. Problem going on right now. They'll probably put that on the news headlines. So-and-so was hacked. You know, they got Amazon one time, Google the other time. They're at it again. But it's going to be a problem. It is. If I were you guys, honestly, listen to me. I would change, go there and change your you shop online like these big stores, because they're going to be targets. Amazon and wherever else Walmart and all these places. You need to make it a practice and get you a handwritten log, right? Listen, a handwritten log. Change your passwords. Get in the habit of changing your passwords at least once a month. And make sure you write it down. Don't use something you can remember, but reference it. Reference it. Yeah. Because if a company gets hacked, they're after your personal information. What they're after. They don't care about shopping or anything. They're after your personal information. Believe me. They're after it. How about now? Is that okay, guys? I was breaking up. Good to go? We good to go? Yes, no, maybe so. Okay, no email. Oh, well, good. If you don't have an email yet, you may likely have one. And the reason why is because I'm looking at the emails from COT, right? And there have been, I'd say about, it looks like 300 plus people have gotten an email from Amazon here's what the email says. It's official. It's an official one. It says your password has been changed. That's what it says from Amazon. At least 300 people. Their password has been changed. Hopefully that didn't happen to you guys. It's titled, the subject is security. There's some more coming in from folks on COT. And they're asking me about Amazon, right? Or Amazon. Maybe it's just a security reset. Nobody knows. But they're also getting a warning that, oh boy, is that it? Rick T. Yeah, so they're trying to bring down these big places. Okay, they are. And if your email is, if your password is old, obviously something has been running on that system and all systems for quite some time. Listen, we all knew this was going to happen. Why? Why would this happen? Well, let's bring you into reality, something that is real and true, and things that we face. Since the election, our status with other countries has not been so good, right? It just hasn't. By repairing, see, America has been in such disrepair for so long, honestly, that we've been giving everybody what they want. The moment we say, hey, I can't give you this or that anymore, all these other nations feel entitled. How can the U.S. do so and so? So they get angry, and their cyber centers go to war with the U.S. Part of the war has begun already, a cyber war, right? And so if you can start breaking down or irritate the people of the U.S., well, then that's how they're going to do it. Honestly, to take down the U.S., all you have to do is stop fast food restaurants, right? Face starvation in about a week. That's all you have to do. Get rid of McDonald's and all these other places, throw a bug in their computers. They can't do anything. That's it. Anyway, that was a small joke. But the truth is, we have a lot of enemies out there. And the cyber attacks in North Korea, this one likely probably did come from North Korea. Now, if it's one thing about North Korea, you guys should know is they're very savvy. They work in a network with people in the Middle East. They work with other nations who are not in the League of Nations with America. And so they are continually and constantly attacking, right? And there's always a need for security personnel, cyber security personnel, all throughout the U.S. And if you want to have your child have a good job, then let them learn cyber securities and let them be people of integrity, right? Even some of the gamers and things that we live in a digital world. So the most important people are going to be the ones that protect all the toys, believe it or not. Well, it just so happens some very important equipment works with the toys. Okay? Thank you, Rick T, for that update. But there are lots of people who have just been, obviously, they have just been spoofed. They have been. So you guys be careful out there. It's a good practice to change your email and keep them in a log. Or not your email, your password. Handwrite your passwords in a book, a tiny book, and change them. Honestly, I'm in a habit of changing passwords every week. I have a system to the changing of my passwords. They're brand new every week. On a Saturday, I'll sit down and think up new ones. Now, some of them that I use are recommended, and they have plenty of characters. But there are programs online. I wouldn't recommend using those. Why would you use a program to come up with a password that you're actually going to use on the internet? So you come up with some passwords that you can't remember. If you can remember your own password, it's no good to begin with. To be honest with you, it's no good to begin with. If you can remember it, it's just not a good password. You need things that don't make sense, right? Like, how many of you guys have been in the armed services and you have challenge and password? Those were the hardest things a soldier could remember, right? You'd have a challenge word and a password, right? That's what you'd have, but they didn't make sense. In fact, they didn't make sense at all, and so you would forget them as soon as you heard them. That's what you have to do. Right? Weird things, too. Who would associate transmission, right? You'd say, suppose a challenge was transmission, right? What do you think the password would be? Most people would think in line of mechanics or tangible things and all that stuff, right? So the password could be blink. That makes no sense. Transmission, blink? No, it makes no sense. But they disassociate actions from other things and all this other stuff. So you guys have to be careful with your passwords. Now, we have entered into an arena, unfortunately, where these things are happening from day to day. Day to day, they're happening. You just don't hear about it, right? But when it begins to affect people largely, because if they hack, here's the deal. If a person successfully hacks Amazon, and how they do it is the people first. The person's machine becomes compromised. They go into Amazon. They begin to probe Amazon for holes going into the account section of the site. So if they so much as slipped on an SQL entrance point, the way you go into a database, they can embed code in there overriding SQL to put something into Amazon. Therefore, when everybody logs in, they get a piece of the virus, and then they go and hack everybody else's stuff before you know it. They took the whole site down, but they have your information. Not more than 2 weeks ago, millions of people's personal information was compromised. This happens every single day in the United States of America. All right? You guys that's right. SQL injection is exactly what it is. And they have, listen, some of the SQL injections they taught you about in school, well, there's some very fancy injections that you can use. You can do that through regular HTML. You don't need a fancy computer. All you need is a notepad, right? Apple, you think that's hack-free iPhone? They are more compromised, but of course they're not going to advertise it. But we live in that world now. You guys remember the broadcast where I said to back up your information, make a habit of backing up your information always. Put your information, don't put it. Now, I do not advise anybody to put their information on an SD card. Don't do it to yourselves. Don't do it. Don't do it to yourselves. Please don't do it. That is magnetic memory. Don't do it. At its root, it's a type of magnetic memory. Don't do it to yourselves. Put it on a simple CD. They don't even put CD players in brand new computers anymore. Nobody uses them. Unfortunately, that's the best type of backup you can have. Tape backups? No. Any type of electronic backup is no good. No. The only problem with a CD is that if you don't use your CD player, the parts go bad. Your house may be too humid. Parts not moving. Right? Not enough heat generated in there to fight off the moisture. It settles and destroys the thing. If you don't use your CD-ROM in a while, it won't even open. Have you noticed that? There's a slide bar in there of which laser head is attached to, and often it fails because all the grease evaporates. It just wears off. So this is where we stand. It's recommended. You just have to make sure that you back up your data on something where you know where it is. And if you back up your data on CDs, always have an extra small, portable, or something CD drive there with you. Now, if the power totally fails, right, or if we start having power spikes, your little SD card is going to bite the bullet. So are your USB sticks and everything else. Anything that you have to plug into the machine and put your shares current with is gone. You put that on a CD, it doesn't care about current. You can blow up the CD player and still have the data. Right? Just make sure you protect the CD from heat, excessive heat. All right? Do that. All the rest of that stuff is somewhat foolish. There are pulse combinations that can be sent out, wipe every single SD card you ever thought was ever made. Who made them in the first place? Do you really know what goes into the process of building hardware like that? They know its vulnerabilities. They're called corporate secrets. You don't share your vulnerabilities, but they have them. And if you're entrusting all of your livelihood on something that has not failed to date, well, then you're not doing too well, right? Patricia says, I'm low tech. That's very good. Thank you, by the way, Patricia. That was you that did what you did for Carl. Thank you. That was, thank you. I put you on the spot, didn't I? I can't help it. I'm in the office now. I can see all this stuff. I'm looking at everything right now. So I just want to say thank you for that. And all you guys, thank you very much. But one person in here they just blew the record all to pieces. I think that's funny. Two of you, you carry a lot. So thank you for that. I think you know that by now, but you carry a lot, so thank you. Of course, I'm not going to mention you. They'll hack you too or something. I don't know. But we live in a world where people are trying to, if they can't do it by air attacks, they're going to do it by way of cyber warfare. And so then we have Watson, which is this thing is everywhere. I give an example. Watson, the architecture in Watson has already been embedded in things prior to anybody really knowing about Watson. All the modules for this thing, all the platforms, they have to conform to standard, right? And so what they've been doing for a long time, IBM, is very sneaky. These guys have already set up everything according to a certain specific type of architecture. And guess who was, I can't tell you the true authors of this, but you vote for them. Because in 2014, that's when they took control and said, hey, we're going to support your research with the people's money to do so-and-so. We need it too, right? Because the true bosses in this world are corporations, not governments. Those government entities, the people you know about, all they do is give out or say things in the areas of which they are privy to knowing. That's what classification is for. They don't know about certain areas that are classified. And so you have other people behind them who are really running the show. Corporations run this world. They do. You stop the flow of money, goods and services. Well, you've just stopped the world. Society is based on stuff. The controllers of stuff control the world. You have to understand that. People live in these strange paradigms. Like somehow, if we put out all the right policies, everything is going to be okay. No, it's not. The troubles are so deeply embedded, there's no way to fix them. There is no way to fix them. If that were possible, why would the Father have to come here? I tell you, the mess is so bad. Another deluge is coming, but not by water. And that deluge, ladies and gentlemen, has already begun. And it's been sprinkling for a long time. You can't see it. In the book of Matthew, it says, "And they knew not till the flood came and took them all away, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be." I know a lot of people use that context in many different ways. Tommy C. says, fire? No, not fire. Nope. Sorry, not fire. Nope. The first deluge was by water. What did the water do? One specific word in the Old Testament. I'll tell you what Jesus said. In Matthew 24:38-39, he says, "For as in the days of Noah that were before the flood," what were they doing? They were eating and drinking, marrying, giving into marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark. 39, he continues to say, it reads, "And knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be." He's going to come when what? Everything is normal. When they're doing what they do. They're not going to know a thing. They won't realize anything until the flood comes and takes them all away. The Lord will come when no one realizes he's coming. He comes with the day of the Lord. That's how it happens. Maybe we can read some of this when I get back, but there's something else I have to go over with you. But folks, I'm going to take one unscheduled break. I know it's past the bottom of the hour. I'm going to be right back, okay? I'm going to be right back. All right. You guys should be able to hear me now. Are we good to go now? Very good, very good, very good. Back to what we were discussing. What time is it? We still have time. We're good to go. You guys find it amazing. Utterly amazing of how much you can miss. Folks, I want to let you know something. There's a situation brewing right now. Now, we don't know how things are going to turn out. That's based on people's minds, right? I'm hopeful, however, despite what happens, that all of us calm about the whole thing. I'm very calm. Very calm. So now, you guys, you know, the 28th, we are scheduled to begin the book of Acts 28. On the 28th. 29th? 28th, well, no, 29th we have something else to discuss. The 30th book of Acts. First, the book of Acts. Okay? But on the 29th, there's something else we have to discuss. All right? We have to discuss that. Something else. Now, back to Antarctica. No doubt somebody out there who's probably, I'm sure there are a lot of theories flying around about Antarctica, but it's not new. It's just that the presentation of such things, a time has come. Let's put it that way. A time has come that, well, it's just time for certain things to come back again. We were discussing the flood and the deluge, right? And it won't be a deluge by water. But what is a deluge? What is a deluge? Anybody know? I know you're going to look it up and give me the definition, but the water subdued or flooded had overcome the earth. Water had overcome the earth. There's a different type of deluge, overcoming, that's already here. Over type of overcoming. If you think of the great flood as an overcoming of the world by water, another deluge is happening right now, but the world won't know it until it affects them, right? But it's already begun. Already begun. The other deluge. The world is, they will not realize the severity of it until it takes place. Now that's so true for us, because in a lot of cases, with the earthquakes and things that we have become accustomed to all these earthquakes happening at the same time. We become accustomed to evil, immorality, things of that nature. We have become so accustomed, it's hard for us to see. Nobody wakes up and they're sick to death of murder. They don't. Who wakes up and the first thought on your mind is we're having way too many murders? The truth is, that's not what we think of. Right? If we have a good day, it's because things in our lives worked out to a degree where we don't have to worry. We've been almost transformed into something unfamiliar because we think a good day is when we don't have to worry. Don't we? Well, I don't have to worry today. This is a very good day. So we can't see, would you agree? Our good and bad days are based upon tangible things, situations working out, or a situation that didn't work out. We have become embedded in things of the world, right? But it's time for us to look beyond that. The truth. We're going to see the truth, whether we want to or not. And the Lord has blessed the body with such people, but they reject the truth. Do you know the body of Christ? A lot of people in the body of Christ, they want to hear a message that will soothe them. The truth will never soothe your flesh. It won't do it. They want something they can feel good about themselves. I don't want to feel good about myself. I want to feel good about the Lord. I don't want to feel that from the flesh. What have we become, honestly? Think about that. What have we become? We rely heavily. Like an addiction. Don't talk about anybody who's addicted to anything out there when we are addicted to fixing our substance so that we can relax. We're on a mission to make ourselves comfortable. Lord, help us all. Because there'll be no comfort. The Lord has sent spiritual warning after spiritual warning after spiritual warning. And guess what we do? We become accustomed to it. And then we begin to say, oh, it's not coming. That's almost like saying prophecy won't be fulfilled. We speak in such hypocrisy. We are experts on what won't happen. That won't happen. That one is going to happen in an hour you're not aware of. I'm not talking about the coming of the Lord. Even those things that men are doing right now, I can perceive that you're not aware of it. You'd be much more sincere today than usual. Some have discerned it spiritually, but you don't know why. This morning I talked to many things that we have been doing are no longer important. One of the most important things to a believer right now is that they're absolutely correct with Christ. You think the world knows what they're doing? If those in the world knew what they were doing, we wouldn't have these problems in the first place. They would have been solved thousands of years ago. There'd be no prejudice. We wouldn't argue and dispute over money for a wall. We wouldn't build a wall. They don't even know it. There are already walls up around every single nation. What's a wall going to do? Listen, what mankind builds, mankind can overcome. How about that? Mankind can never overcome what the Lord has set in place. He can put an obstacle in front of you you will never overcome. He can grant you the power to overcome every obstacle in the world. Mankind can never undo the blood. It is permanent. Hence we get into the spiritual nature of things. Like what causes mankind to do what they really do. What has entered into the body of Christ? What has entered into the world? Well, no need of us to even think about the world. Let's get this house cleaned. How about that? And I'm not talking about collectively. I'm talking about us as individuals. Have you swept your house clean? One day we'll go in the Old Testament. I'm going to show you something about the spiritual things that are so tangible. One of the great disconnects in the body of Christ is that spirit things often seem like anybody can make up any attribute they want. You have to believe it based upon the authority the person has who's speaking it. Then you have the world who believes in things from space, something tangible, something logical, right? Then you have those who went to Antarctica saying, oops, well, we have a problem. We got to go hide. Men will hide. But I ask you this. If men, every bondman, free man, all the captains and everybody else hid themselves, who broke the spirit over you that you won't hide? You can say you won't hide all your life. But if you have fear right now, you will hide. Fear is not knowing. We've heard so many stories, we don't know what is what. We have little understanding of spirit in the first place. It doesn't make sense to us. We know that God is spirit. Is it defined? We know we are to walk in the spirit. And by what spirit we are to walk by. But is it defined? We know the fallen angels came and mated with woman. These are points of contention within the body. Well, if angels are spirit, then how do they mate with humans? Questions like that. What about the changeling in the garden? The Nakash, Satan. Right? The serpent in the garden, the Nakash. The one who changes. Who has the same attributes as Kesarat. What about that? The great, that dimensional being. What about DEs, dimensional entities, who come and go when they want to, show you magical tricks in the sky to make you go ooh and ah. You don't know what it is, and it does not confirm truth internally in your soul, no identity associated with them. Yet you can have a visitation from the messengers, from God, and understand exactly who they are. Because they carry the authority of the one who sent them. That's why. They carry the spirit of the one who sent them. That's part of the message. A spirit sending a spirit to mankind, but who would hear? Who would be in the spirit to receive? Well, one day, since we have to have so much proof, one day you're going to be made aware of the proof that's always been here on this planet. And it's going to turn your world upside down in a moment. And great fear and trembling will settle upon the people. And then the Holy One will come. And great fear and trembling will settle upon all mankind. We have too much theory in our hearts and minds. We really do. We always say what we think. It's time for people to speak the small portion of things they know. Together, we have a full story. But who would have patience to hear it. Oh my. Great trouble is here. Who can see it? The deluge has begun. Who will know it? Nothing took the world over until Noah entered into the ark. Correct? Whereas in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying, given into marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark. Until Noah entered into the ark, when he entered into the ark, when Noah and his family were safe, the deluge came. The grunt of the deluge came. Noah had to be saved in a structure he labored on. My goodness. Is that not the story of your salvation? Who built the ark? Who built the ark? Do you guys know who built the ark? Did Noah build the ark? Who built the ark? I'll tell you the truth. Noah labored on instruction from the Most High. That gave me chills. He labored. You understand me? He labored from instructions that he received from the Lord. Noah labored. Then he entered in to what he labored on. Saved him from something God sent. Well, the Lord gave you a labor. It's called the gospel of Jesus Christ. But we don't want to get ourselves together to build it. We keep saying we can't make this fit. I'm too tired to keep doing this. We're complaining the entire way. You're going to be left outside of the ark. That's what we do. Today's ark is Christ. You're not going to enter into Christ your way. It's not going to work your way. I'm going to follow the directives of the Lord that he already gave us. Do you understand? He gave us enough in the ark of safety, didn't he? He gave us enough to truly find him, didn't he? How could Noah save his family if he didn't follow the instructions from the Lord? For all you people that read the Sumerian tales, then you identify the one who spoke to Utnapishtim through a thin reed wall. You tell me who that was, because all the characters in the Sumerian text did not know, and it scared them to death. They even asked their high boss, well, was it you? We thought it was you. No, it wasn't me. It must have been fate. Did you know that? Come on, some of you folks who sat there and you read these stories and gave you confusion about the Old Testament. Answer that. Who spoke to Utnapishtim? Who did? And that was his latter name. Utnapishtim. Who spoke to Noah through that wall? The Anunnaki didn't know who it was. Because in the Sumerian tales, one said they were going to destroy the earth. Come on, let's get down to brass tacks, shall we? I'll go there. I know people are afraid to go there. I'm not. One determined to destroy the earth to undo his own creation. The other said, hey, no, we got to save him. Can't let him do this. One of them went to Noah and told them about the flood, but something else came and told him exactly what to do. See, you missed that. See, that gives me chills. Now, you know, one of the greatest revelations about those who believe in the Sumerian text, there were other characters in there that scared Anu Enlil, Enki, and Ursa. Right? Those names are attributes. And some of the things they say in there, quite accurate. But not the biased portions. Don't cast them away every single time. Deluge dictum. You can't fill in the blanks. People who read Zechariah Ascension's work, stop filling in the blanks. It's incomplete. Who's going to give you revelation about that? The Lord can. If you open your heart to the Lord, you can have the whole truth. You already know some of the attributes. I bet you I could go through one of those books, have the Bible side by side. Look at the Bible and then look at that text. Talk about both of them. And you'd begin to see connections of truth you never saw before. You would also see Zechariah's bias in what he thought, because he wrote in there precisely, I think this is so-and-so. He implied so-and-so. But if you take out all of his thinks, thoughts, and theories, and you see the text, you realize this must come from a much older text than it did. See, that's where they messed up. The Sumerian text is not the oldest text on the face of the earth. There was another before it. My. Zechariah Ascension was biased. And if you're biased and you read something like that, you're going to read it through the glasses of hatred. You're going to start believing and disproving. You're going to argue about it and miss the entire point. The point is this. God created all things. He sent his messengers, his creation, to help out creation. Some of his creation went astray. Well, they failed. Things didn't work out too right. And God still spoke to man. After man was tampered with, my goodness. He looked directly beyond the flesh. Most people don't even know that Noah had a different countenance than everybody else. It was almost like Noah was a different model of human being. Most people don't even know Moses fit in perfectly with the Egyptians. You didn't even know at the time of Moses the Egyptians were about 14, 15 feet tall. They would often call the builders who would lift those heavy stones that had gifts beyond belief. You didn't read those stories, did you? Oh. This ancient world is very similar to today. If a tribe came to America and saw you talking through a phone, and then somebody else comprehended what you said and pulled up, and you guys carried on a conversation, they would for sure think it's magic. And it wouldn't be. And if you're not careful, they would worship you as something you're not, because you have technology they can't comprehend. Sometimes we deify God's creation a little too much. And men did worship the creation more than the Creator, to the point where they lost focus on the Creator, period. And were bound to the creation, the fallen angels. They were created, eternal, but they were created. And men did worship them. But even through all that, God still spoke to mankind. And the messengers who fell were upset. Likely saying, well, who is mankind that God would even consider them? They're less than us. We shouldn't serve them, intercede for them. They should serve us. Did you know that the fallen angels were beguiled, and that's why they fell? They went through a type of enchantment philosophy. Is what spoiled them. Satan, which is a name of hierarchy, beguiled them too. Because mankind is so wise, they can't even look at that. Satan is a name of a type. You guys know that name, Beelzebub? Where'd that come from? Is that Greek? Is that new stuff, or what is that? What is that? What about the word demon? Where'd that come from? You personify demon. Therefore, demons often appear personified. They are spirits taking the form of anything. Because you personify them, they will beguile you based on the context of what's already in your mind. Somebody asked me one time, can they read your mind? Your mind is a flesh. Why wouldn't they be able to read it? You're always thinking. They're always speaking to you. And you talk back to them. You don't talk to yourself. You get angry at someone. You hang up the phone, walk away from them, and you start mumbling when they have really bothered you. Where's that mumbling coming from? Who's doing that? You? Who are you speaking with? Who are you giving satisfaction to? What causes one to do that? Huh? You think you know what demon is? A demon is a type. The word came from the simple word meaning intelligence or knowledge. Knowledge is of the mind, not of the flesh. And the mind is fed by spiritual things. That's where the word inspired comes from. It comes from in spirit. So from the spirit, something enters into the mind. With the mind, we choose to let things enter into the heart and become. You are what's in your heart. If your heart is dark, you are dark. What gives you the knowledge you didn't have to obtain? Can you discern between the two? Let me give an example. When you become angry, you have supernatural knowledge of everything negative of a person. You become an accuser in a supernatural sense. Do you know that? When you're full of the Spirit, you have hope for all people. Correction is given in a way that you can never do it personally because the person receives the correction and it edifies them at the same time. That's impossible for the human mind to do. But the intelligence is of darkness, chaos, things without order, beguilers, deceitful workers. They enter into the mind, giving you supernatural knowledge of what they themselves have imposed upon another. Do you know it's already written that a man does not take a step of himself? That implies that each step of mankind is guided by one of two forces, light or darkness. There's no in between. There's never a time you do something where light or dark was not involved. You are inspired to do things. So I ask you this, who do you work for? Huh? Sometimes in your mind you'll plot on how to do something so somebody else can hear. Those are called devices. Plots and plans are devices. Remember in the book of Daniel where it says they forecast devices against him? That doesn't mean they threw their cell phones. Plots and plans. Outcomes. Theoretical ways to overcome some things or to do things. Right? And then you have this made up stuff from people to make you feel better about the negativity in the world. Listen. You're not supposed to feel better about the negativity in the world. You're supposed to overcome it through Christ. Nothing of negativity in this world. How does that affect Jesus? Let me tell you something bluntly. I hate to put it like this. The only way I can put it. Do you think the world's negativity could cause Jesus to cry? Do you think Jesus would cry from all the negative stuff that he sees in the world? The answer is no. How does he come back? How does Jesus come back? At the end of Revelation, there was something written on his thigh. And what was it? Was it not the Word of God, who is Christ Jesus? That's in the Gospel of John, chapter 1. He comes back with a sword. He comes back a king to his kingdom. And all that is not part of his kingdom, well, it's going to go that day. He's not whimpering and crying at things happening in the world. That comes from mankind, that man may perpetuate their weakness. You know what weakness truly is? The continuation of doubt. Because when you continue to doubt the truth, you're listening to the darkness. So long as you conversate with the darkness, you're always going to have very little or weak or no faith at all. The moment you cast away darkness from your life and you say, no, I do not accept it, they're going to keep talking. Have you ever walked away from a person who just would not stop talking? And they were talking negative. And they don't want anything from you. But they will talk negative and negative until you just either just get away, hang up on them, shut the door, walk away or something. They just keep going. Darkness does the same thing. The exact same thing. It's not going to stop talking. But if you accept those things of light, you have no fellowship with darkness. And if you're not in fellowship with darkness, why would you stand there and listen to what darkness has to say? Light pushes back the darkness. You'll have no voices in the bosom of Christ. My goodness. Only truth and order. That's the real security you've been searching for. You'll find no security in darkness. Darkness is an absence of order. Darkness is force. You don't need force in light because light is ordered. It is already decreed. And if something is decreed, you don't need force. Everything is positioned. Darkness is not so. You have to force your way through everything because nothing has a path. Nothing is ordered. Things are in a wrong spot, so you end up forcing your way through everything. That's darkness. That's called chaos. So why would you listen to chaos? And who has beguiled us for so long that we listen to that same chaos for 20, 30 years and keep doing it, even when we read the Word of God? Because you'll never be free that way. Freedom is found in the bosom of Christ and Christ only. It is found in no other place because in the bosom of Christ is the true light. Developments, ladies and gentlemen. I pray as things continue, as we have time to do what we do, because we have 1, 2, 3 days left. One day was taken away. You guys know that. One day we lost the whole day, so we have 3 days. We have to get busy. We have to get very busy. 3 days left. You guys that have been going to the members section, you can't go to the members section, okay? So, I'm going to say this cryptically. All those who go to the members section, and you're reading down at the bottom to see something that data has been empty for a long time, doesn't mean it's what you saw. That's not what it is. It's just be led by the Spirit. Do things in freedom, liberty. Your Father's coming back. Now, to all those folks who are contacted today, I'm going to work with Mayor. I'm going to have to work with Mayor concerning certain things with certain companies to do what we can, okay? Folks, with everything that we do, let's do the best we can do as we do unto the Lord. But most importantly, let's not deceive ourselves. Living a life of theory. There's no time for that now. Even this very hour is very unstable. This hour right now is unstable. In a big way. And there is no guaranteed outcome of anything beyond this moment. You have to know that. Lift each other up in truth. Don't feed anybody falsehoods. Don't tell them they're going to be all right when you don't even know if you're going to be all right. Teach them truth. God bless each of you. Larry, you can take over.